The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. I wasn't expecting it. My first thought was annoyance. Late calls usually meant telemarketers or mistakes. The moment I saw her name, a cold weight settled in my chest. "Daddy." Her voice cracked like thin ice, barely holding together. "Please, come get me." I don't remember the drive. The city was a blur of streetlights and red signals, tunnel of urgency that seemed to stretch forever. In the back of my mind, I played over every missed text, every dismissed call. Was there something I should have seen? Something I should have done? Her apartment was quiet when I arrived. The hallway smelled faintly of lavender, masking the faint metallic scent underneath. She opened the door with trembling hands, eyes wide and hollow, and I saw it, the bruises she'd hidden, shadows on her skin like secret maps. "I didn't want to bother you," she whispered. Her voice carried the weight of months, maybe years of fear. I didn't argue, didn't scold, didn't try to justify. I just held her. Silence felt like the only language adequate to the moment. He was there when I confronted him. My son-in-law calm and collected, like he had rehearsed his dismissal 1,000 times. "What is this about?" he asked, the casual menace of someone used to being believed. I stayed quiet for a beat too long, watching him, calculating, holding myself steady. He expected panic, outrage, some theatrical display of authority. He didn't get it. "I'm leaving with her," I said, simple. No shout, no accusation, just words weighted by inevitability. He laughed, a soft, patronizing laugh. "You can't just take her." I reached into my pocket, phone in hand. A few calls later, a professional presence was on its way. The shift was subtle at first, almost imperceptible. His eyes flicked, measured, then widened as reality settled. Authority doesn't always need volume. Sometimes it arrives in clarity, in concrete action that cannot be ignored. I stayed in the living room, letting the minutes stretch, observing the man who had seemed untouchable moments before. He tried to speak, to explain, to belittle, but the words fell flat. Each of them had no weight compared to the calm inevitability of consequence. Meanwhile, she sat beside me on the couch, drawn to her chest, trembling. I didn't force her to speak. I let the silence fill the room. Every small sigh, hesitant shift of her eyes told me more than words ever could. She had lived in quiet terror, and now, for the first time in months or years, she wasn't alone. The drive back was slower than the drive there. Her hand on mine, tentative but present, was a reminder that protection doesn't erase fear, it only tempers it. I thought about the nights I hadn't known, texts I had ignored, the calls I had postponed. Guilt pressed against me like a heavy coat. "You should have called sooner," I said, more to myself than to her. She shook her head but didn't protest. I didn't want you to be angry," she admitted. I wasn't, not really. Anger had a place in the world, but here, it would have been selfish. My role wasn't to punish, but to protect, to be a steady presence in the chaos that had been forced into her life. Back at my apartment, she unpacked a small bag she'd brought, offered her the guest room, but she insisted on the couch for now. She needed space, she needed observation, she needed time. I watched her settle in, noticing the small tensions in her body, the tremor in her hands as she set down her toothbrush. Hours passed in quiet observation. I did not sleep. I remembered her childhood, the scraped knees, the whispered secrets about schoolyard conflicts, the times she had come running to me with small fears I had quickly dismissed, and I remembered thinking then that she would always tell me everything. I hadn't realized how much she had learned to hide. The next morning, authority arrived in person. someone official, someone unmistakable, someone who did not need to negotiate or argue. They observed, asked questions, and then made it clear the behavior would not continue. No drama, no spectacle, just acknowledgement and action. The man who had seemed untouchable yesterday was now accountable. I stayed nearby, holding her hand. Words were unnecessary. She could feel that I was there, fully present, no longer a distant father too busy or too distracted to notice. In the days that followed, she began to breathe a little more easily. She started sleeping without the constant vigilance that had defined her nights. I did not promise her that fear would disappear, only that she would not face it alone. I reflected on my own failings, how I had missed signs, how I had assumed appearances equaled reality. But I also realized that control is not always about stopping wrong before it happens. Sometimes it is about responding with clarity, calm, and restraint when the moment demands it. Her presence in the apartment became a rhythm. Morning coffee together, quiet conversations, long pauses where neither of us needed to speak. The world outside continued as it always had, but inside, a small stability had been restored. Not complete healing, not perfect resolution, just a recalibration of trust and safety. One evening, locked the door behind us, she glanced at me and offered a small, tentative smile. Not a smile of victory, not a smile of triumph, but a sign of cautious hope. I knew that the road ahead would be uneven, that fear might resurface in unexpected moments. That moment I also knew that she could face it with me beside her. And sometimes that is enough. The call at 11:47 p.m. had shattered a facade, forced confrontation, and revealed truths I had never wanted to see. But it had also given clarity. The quiet, steady presence of a parent can shift control in subtle, undeniable ways, without theatrics, without revenge, without dramatics, simply by showing up, refusing to be dismissed, and ensuring accountability arrives in unmistakable form. The world beyond the door was unchanged, but inside we were recalibrated. Not healed, not victorious, not triumphant, just present. And in presence there is power.